All right. Good evening, everyone. Boy, that's not going to work. Let's try this. Boy, no. Let's do one more here. There we go. All right. Technical difficulties. Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. It's Sunday, October 24th. And those of y'all who have seen me post on social media today, happy anniversary to my lovely wife, 23 years. And what better way to celebrate, I guess, than some thunderstorms at the end of the day. But not anything to be too worried about, but did want to get on and talk about that real quick and just give everyone an idea of what we can expect. So first and foremost, there really is nothing to be terribly concerned about. I would say that these are thunderstorms that most likely will not become severe, but we do have to watch them. So that's why I wanted to come on and give everyone a brief update on what we can expect. So as you can see from the radar here, we have these individual cells that have formed. This is along the cold front, and most of the action, if you've paid attention to the weather, and today you probably didn't because only weather geeks like me probably did, but most of the very severe weather is up in Missouri along the same system. It's just that we don't have quite the dynamics here in our part of the neck of the woods to be concerned about anything. But we did see some thunderstorms pop up here. I guess it really started about 5 o'clock, and then they've slowly kind of grown in strength. So there's a couple things that I wanted to point out to give you a sense of what you can expect. So if we take a broader view here, we'll expand this out. And as you can see, if you look up in Missouri, you have a tornado watch here. You have the enhanced risk with the orange, slight risk with yellow, marginal risk with the green. So you do see that the severe weather does come down to, the chance anyway of severe weather does come into far northeast Texas. But ironically, you don't see anything there, and that's the nature of these systems. So really and we're going to expand this out just a little bit more and give you a better idea. It's probably not going to show up. It's too far away. Yeah, okay. Anyway, but let's put this in motion. And really, the only action along the front right now is not too far from the Metroplex. So we... if I can get this to go into motion, then I can visually illustrate this for you. Let's see. Let's zoom. Okay, yeah, there we go. So we're going to zoom in. So you can kind of see where the cold front is. You can see that trailing line that shows up as green on the radar, so you can see it out west of Mineral Wells, curving back to the northeast, gone through Denton now, getting ready to go through it looks like Prosper, Salina, McKinney. It won't be too far away. So like I said in the very beginning, there's no severe thunderstorm warnings at the moment. I don't really expect we will have any, but there's always a chance. This is a pretty dynamic system. And I will say, too, that it's probably more of an appetizer for the Tuesday system, which I'll be talking more about tomorrow. So here's a little bit closer view. And as you can see, we have these individuals. If you look closely, it kind of looks like a line, but it's really not. So you see these individual cells. So that tells you a couple of things. Number one is we do have a little bit of lift along the cold front. We had a capping inversion most of the day. We still really have a capping inversion going on. So this warm air loft, it's weakening it, a little bit in the late afternoon. It tends to re-strengthen at night. But what you're seeing is you have these individual updrafts, which correspond with the red. You see those are the most intense updrafts, thus you get the bigger rain, more heavier rain. So the last couple of hours, most updrafts have not sustained themselves to where you'd see anything that would last a long, long time. And if you put this in motion, as we put this in motion, you'll see that, again, there's a couple reasons for that. Number one is we don't have quite the lift this far south from the low pressure system, which is in Missouri. That's where the main energy is with this system. But we do have enough for updrafts to penetrate the capping inversion that we have. But also that warm air typically limits the strength of updrafts. Sometimes it just don't last very long. Now, having said that, and that's kind of what we're seeing overall tonight, but having said that, it doesn't mean an updraft can't get going and sustain itself a little bit longer than normal. So that's really the main threat we have, is that if an updraft were to do that, then could see some gusty winds. Again, we haven't seen any severe thunderstorm warnings along this line, so it doesn't. And I would think as the night goes on, that will, if we haven't seen anything now, that would probably still be the case. But that doesn't mean we wouldn't have one. So that's something we have to watch out for. Now, this is one of those situations where when the front passes through your area, then the all clear can be sounded, and you'll be good to go the rest of the night. So this will be a very short duration event. It's about 10 till 8 now. So for most of us, well after 9. After 9 o'clock, you won't have to worry about any of this. But then, like I said, we'll maybe redo all this on Tuesday night, and that system's a lot stronger than this one. So we'll have to watch that. And like I said, I'll have more updates about that tomorrow. So with that, I wanted to show you, if I can get this, I wanted to show you the satellite picture because it's interesting. It's fade over there. Okay. So you can probably make out Dallas-Fort Worth there, the big old blob of lights on the satellite. So my good friend Leslie Williams, she was asking me about this earlier. And if you were to go outside and look before the sun really went down, you can see this Anvil cloud, and this satellite picture illustrates that. You can see that these thunderstorms form, and of course, as they form, basic meteorology will tell you that the updrafts can only go so far, and then they hit the bottom of the troposphere, and then they have to go. They can't keep going up, so they go sideways basically, and that's what forms the anvil. And then, of course, depends on what the prevailing wind is in the upper levels. That's where the anvil will go. And so, as you can see, the prevailing winds are to the east southeast, I guess you could say. That's why you see the anvils being blown off, like you see. Now, luckily, in this part of our neck of the woods, we haven't seen a lot of lightning with these storms. But anvil lightning is always a big danger because we haven't seen it with this, but if you do get anvil lightning, then people think it's safe because the storm's way over there, is nowhere near me, but that's where you have to watch out. Now we've seen some of that in the storms northeast of us, but not really around here. But something to be watched out for. So, in the future when you see these thunderstorms pop up and you see these really beautiful anvils, especially at night, then you do. But there can be some danger there. So, all right. So let's go back to the radar and look what we got. Okay. So we don't really see, I don't see, now this radar may be a little bit behind, but I don't see any lightning strikes with these particular cells. So that'll tell you a couple things. One is, the anvils, the thunderstorms aren't terribly strong. Because if you remember, got to have a lot of ice crystals in the atmosphere to form lightning. And so we don't have a lot of that yet. Doesn't mean we can't. But we definitely got some heavy downpours, probably some gusty winds. And so that's something that, like I said, that's the main threat. I don't think these will be severe, but you just never know. All right. So let me go over here real quick and see what we got. If I got anything else here. Just checking the comments real quick. Hey Benjamin, thank you. All these happy anniversaries. Oh, thank you, Karen. I appreciate that. Angela, this time you can say Trophy Club. Okay, Trophy Club it is. Oh my gosh, Angela, man, I don't know which part of the Trophy Club you're in, but man, you might just be missing out. Hopefully not. Ashley just left Kroger, saw lightning, wonder what was going on. Well, that's why. Come on, Ashley, I'll tell you what's going on. That's why I popped on. That's one of the reasons it's kind of funny because I always, think about, well, should I pop on? I don't want to alarm anybody. But by the same token, if it's kind of a surprise thing, even though it's not, even though it's not severe, then it might be time to pop on then too. So that's kind of why I decided to do it tonight. All right, so let's back out. Well, that's not right. Let's back out here a little bit and see what we got. Okay, so we do see, which has been in effect for a while, we do see this, not yellow box. Now remember, yellow box is a severe thunderstorm warning. So we see kind of this orange, it's not really, pale yellow, peach, whatever you want to call it. So that is where the National Weather Service puts out a special weather statement. So that's really basically between just a good old garden variety thunderstorm and then a severe thunderstorm. It's kind of in between. It's kind of like, well, it's a little strong, not severe. It could be severe, but just might want to get your attention. So if you click on this, and this is what you'll see. So on this particular, when they put this out, The main impacts were winds in excess of 30 miles an hour, pea-sized hail. So that is the worst you would see potentially, and probably most of the people within that warning box would not even see that. So you don't see any special weather statements on any of these cells right here. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't put one out at any moment, but again, even if they did, again, remember we have a couple of things working for us, or against severe weather, I should say. We evolve will take the rain out of it, of course. But again, we still have a capping inversion overhead. Obviously, it could be penetrated in some areas, as you can see. But overall, there's a lot of warm air aloft that will help limit the strength of the updraft. So that's something that is working against these becoming severe. Doesn't mean they can't, but it is something that's kind of keeping things at a minimum. All right, so let's zoom in here a little bit because I did see. All right, so it's kind of probably hard to see, but do see a lightning strike there. So that'll tell you that particular storm that's over Highland Village, Double Oak, just north of Louisville, Flower Mound, that updraft, that storm might be trying to get organized a little bit more. So something that we just want to watch. And we'll put this in motion here. I'm checking comments. All right, so Leslie Williams, did the drizzle have anything to do with this development? Okay, so I'm assuming you mean this morning. Not really. I got another question about that at church today. And so, as you saw about lunchtime, it kind of, and I say not totally cleared out, but the sun came back out. So that was basically just moisture trapped in an inversion. So again, remember we had the capping inversion overhead this morning, just like tonight. And so you get this warm, humid air that came, really started, refueling the atmosphere overnight. And then, but basically, so when you have that warm air aloft, some of that moisture gets trapped. And so it can't go anywhere. And then a lot of times if there's just enough lift in the atmosphere, it can squeeze out that drizzle. And so that's so in a way it didn't have anything to do with the thunderstorms literally developing, but it did have it did prove a lot of points that one, we had moisture in the lower levels, and two, we did have a capping inversion. So that so it kind of did have something, a little bit of foreshadowing what might happen. So Benjamin, what time it gets to Saxony? That's always $1 million question. So if they hold together, you'd probably be talking sometime between now and 9 p.m. But again, as you can see, when you look at the radar, it's not a solid line. Again, you got these individual updrafts, and some of these, like I said, at night, nocturnally, the cap tends to strengthen, not always, but it tends to strengthen some, and so that might start to knock these down a little bit. So if it holds together, then again, I think it would be probably before 9 o'clock. Thank you, Ashley. I appreciate that. I appreciate y'all too. Appreciate y'all tuning in on a Sunday evening. Okay, so let's just check a couple more things here before I sign off. So if you just are tuning in, number one, nothing really to be concerned about. Number two, though, I did come on because, I think most people weren't really expecting anything. And to be quite honest, I wasn't really thinking we'd have anything either. But, that's what Texas weather is all about. So just want to kind of give everybody an idea. If you were to go outside, you'll probably see some, at least I haven't been outside since I started this, obviously, but you'll probably see some lightning off to the north or northwest. All right. So again, I would say, you can kind of see these individual updrafts. You got one here. You see these cores. That one's weakening. That one's probably that one between those. Yeah, it's definitely separate updraft. This one's, out of all of them right now, is probably the strongest. So if that's the one we may want to watch, but let's put this one. Again, you can see the front pretty clearly on this radar image. And again, when the next generation radars we've had for a while, these lines show the difference in density of the air. So that's why they show up as lines a lot of times. Warm, humid air southeast of it, drier air to the northwest of it. That's why you see these lines show up on the radar. That shows how fine-tuned the radars are. All right, so let's see what that storm is going to do. The one that's over Highland Village. Okay. All right, so I would say now on this one, they usually give you a time. Yeah, so if this held together like it was, they're thinking that this particular storm, let's do this. This particular storm, the line would be somewhere like that around 8:50, and that's not totally out of the question, I guess. Let's see what this cells wants to do. 8:35, 8:50. Yeah, okay, so that kind of makes sense. All right. Okay, so again, in summary, let's see. Uh, Patty, thank you for the update. So think maybe some storms on Tuesday. Yeah, so that's a good way to end this particular update. So yes, so tonight again, if you're lucky, if you live in the northern part of Dallas County and the southern part of Collin County, you may get some rain. It's not gonna be anything to write home about. I mean, I would think most of us wouldn't even get. It'd be less than a quarter of an inch. That's number one. If you get the worst of the worst, relatively speaking, tonight, maybe some gusty winds, maybe some pea-sized hail, but I just don't think that's going to be in the cards for most of us. And then, like I said, after 9 o'clock, it'll be done, over with, and you can rest easy if your thunderstorms aren't your thing. You'll be good the rest of the day, rest of the night, and then tomorrow we'll be fine anyway. So the next big system that we'll have the ability to produce severe weather will be Tuesday night, overnight into Wednesday, and a little bit more of a dynamic system than this one. Although, if you're in Missouri, you may think differently tonight. But this system will track a little further south, and then we'll actually have there's a hurricane in the Pacific, Hurricane Rick, and that will bring some upper level moisture our way. Now there's a kind of a fly in the ointment for Tuesday in the sense that if some of that moisture, lower level moisture, goes across South Texas, it may rob some of the system of moisture. So that's something that we'd have to watch on Tuesday as far as what kind of storm coverage we might get. But right now, it's looking like we'll have a line of storms form out in West Texas and then move our way, like I said, at Tuesday after 6 p.m., really probably after 8 p.m. And then, again, that's what we'll have to watch. If you remember, the Sunday night, or I think it was last 10 days ago, whatever. No, it was actually longer than that, maybe 2 weeks ago. We had the line of storms that came through, had some gusty winds. It'd be like a system like that, but maybe a little more dynamic than that one was. And if you remember, that's the storm system that had the gusts at the airport at 70 miles an hour. So, something that we'd have to watch out for. Leslie, hail, no. Probably not tonight. Tuesday, again, more of a wind threat, but definitely a better chance for hail. All right, so before I sign off, let's put this in motion one more time and kind of give an idea of what we're looking at. Again, general motions, I would say east-southeast. The individual storms, anyway, east-southeast, overall line southeast. And you can see they're headed in our general direction, and they kind of fluctuate in strength. So let's see. All right. So I will leave you with this. So right now, there's really two storms that we would want to watch. Not for anything dangerous, but just keep your attention. Are these storms right here? And so I'll be watching that. I think the only reason I would come back on is if they actually issued a warning for those particular storms. Hopefully they won't. But if they did, then I definitely would do an update on where we're at. So, but the bottom line is this. Between now and 9 p.m., if you live in northern Dallas County, southern Collin County, southeast Collin County, the northern part of Rockwall County, between now and 9 p.m., you might, not everybody, of course, but you might get some gusty winds, a brief heavy downpour, a couple lightning strikes. You might expect that. And if you're one of the very unlucky ones, you might see some pea-sized hail. But if you do, that's not going to cause any damage, so don't worry about that. And then, like I said, after 9 o'clock, it'll be done. We'll be done with this, and then we won't have anything to worry about until Tuesday evening. And then, of course, I'll have many more details between now and then about that. All right. Comment-wise, I think we're good. Thank you, Leslie, for the thank yous. I appreciate that. All right. Remember, I'm watching the weather, so you don't have to. Hope everyone has a great evening. Again, Nothing much to worry about, but don't be shocked if you hear if you see some lightning, hear some thunder, brief heavy downpour, maybe a gusty wind for a little bit, and then you'll be done. All right. Hope everyone has a great evening, and we will talk to you soon.